Ahead of the US presidential election, security forces across the capital are on high alert, with security stepped up and additional security which has been deployed outside the White House and the official residence of the vice president. Outside the White House, which already has a fence and barricades, workers were putting up additional fencing to create a wider enclosed perimeter. Secret Service agents are guarding the building. This comes as intelligence officials have warned that Russia and Iran may consider encouraging violent protests in the US following the election.
About the election itself, I'm excited. I'm very confident of who I'm going to be voting for, and I think it's a great moment for our country, and for the world. A free, fair election, peaceful transition. However it comes, I think that's how it should be, and I'm very confident it will be.
Security was also intensified around Mar-a-Lago and the Palm Beach County Convention Center. Barricades were being put up around the convention center with a heavy presence of police and sheriffs stationed at both locations. WION's correspondent Siddhant Sibal spoke with Divyansh Kaushik, who is a security expert. They also spoke on US presidential elections' impact on India-US ties.
Relations are going to be strong regardless of who wins. I think there's a bipartisan recognition that India is a key strategic partner, and that especially as the United States engages in this strategic competition on technology with China in particular, that like-minded partners and allies, especially in India, will have to be brought closer on technology cooperation, on strategic trade, and that's why the Biden administration started things like ISET, and I think next year when we look at what the ISET will bring, or what the Quad Summit in India will bring, I think you expect to see a lot of focus on technology, regardless of who is in the White House. Where the rubber meets the road is how far will that go, especially as there will be potentially broader discussion on trade and tariffs when there's a Trump administration versus when there's a Harris administration. But you can expect India playing a key central role for the United States when it comes to strategic competition with the Chinese Communist Party.
And ahead of the US presidential elections 2024, Siddhant Sibal also tells us what the ground situation looks like outside the White House.
Behind me is the White House, but all barricaded and fenced. The metal fence can be seen, and they have been put up by the authorities who do not want to take any chances when it comes to the security situation on the ground. Now, security situation looks very precarious. There are worries and concerns about post-poll violence and protests in United States and many cities as well, especially in Georgia, which is the swing state. But here in Washington, not just the White House has been barricaded, but also many establishments have put up wooden planks and many roads leading up to the Harvard University, where Kamala Harris will be present during the election counting, and the outcome has been blocked as well. So situation a little tense on the ground, but of course enthusiastic, with many people hoping to not only cast the candidate, but hoping to see their candidate win the big race to White House. So Siddhant for WION in Washington D.C.
Now, the role of the Indian American voters in this US presidential elections, how much weight will that hold? Siddhant explains this further.
Well, the Indian American voter matters a lot during this year's elections. We have heard a number of Indian American names, whether it's Kamala Harris, Usha Vance, or whether it is Nikki Haley, and of course Vivek Ramaswamy. But all in all, we know that while the community is in not major in terms of their population size, it's in minority, it is important in terms of fundraising and also in terms of battleground states like Pennsylvania and Georgia. We also know that Indian Americans have been traditionally Democrat supporters, but many of them are very unhappy over Kamala Harris not being very vocal about her Indianness, her Indian identity, and we have seen how both sides have been trying to reach out, whether it is the Diwali celebration here at the White House or whether it is the post by the Republican candidate Donald Trump about the violence against Hindu minorities in Bangladesh, which is seen and very well received not only by the Indian American community but also by many people across the world. Sudhan Sibbal for WION in Washington.